Hi, my name is Erica Matthews, and I'm talking today about plotting kingdom adventure fiction. Kingdom adventure fiction isn't fantasy. It isn't historical fiction. It's a work of fiction that's set in a completely fictional world, so it's not set on Earth, but it has no elements of fantasy, no magic, no other races, nothing unrealistic, nothing that couldn't happen in the real world. I will put a link to a more comprehensive definition of Kingdom Adventure fiction below, as well as a link to a list of Kingdom Adventure books. I've plotted 4 Kingdom Adventure novels now. I have 2 more I'll be plotting in the next year. Book 1, Promise's Prayer. Book 1 of Truth from Tarna is available on Amazon and restinglife.com, also linked below. So how do you plot Kingdom Adventure? As with any story, the first step is to choose the plot and characters. But deeper than that, why are you writing this particular story as Kingdom Adventure? You could just do it for the fun of it, and that's perfectly fine, but let's look a little deeper. The reason you pick Kingdom Adventure should fit with your plot, it should fit with your message, or it should fit with your audience. For me, I chose Kingdom Adventure because it fit with all 3 of these. God gave me a message of writing stories that communicated truths, specific truths that are often downplayed by Christians today or today's church. And sometimes, if you put an important spiritual truth in a fictional setting, something that's removed from the familiar, it provokes deeper thought. And that enables my readers to take those truths from my fictional world and transfer them into their own lives, all while having the deeper thought process along with it. Kingdom Adventure fit my plot because I could craft the world how I needed it to be to have the events happen that I needed to have happen. And it fit my audience because the issue of fantasy and magic can be a sensitive topic in some Christian reader circles. And I really had a desire to have my works be available to that broader audience so that that wider variety of readers could be comfortable with reading my books. So once you've chosen your plot and your characters and picked that you are indeed writing Kingdom Adventure, it's time for the fun part, which is setting up your world. In Kingdom fiction, you're not doing research like historical fiction, although there are definitely still elements to research. But you are setting up your whole culture, whether it's a country or a whole universe. And as you set up all of these different elements of your world, most of them may not ever show up in your book. But if you understand them before you start, that will enable your writing to be stronger, and your message to come through more clearly, and your world to be more realistic and cohesive. So, here are a few elements that you can consider as you set up your Kingdom Adventure world. First, the setting, the time period, or the combination of time periods. You could pick your favorite time period in real history and use that in your world, or you could pick time periods of many different parts of history and combine them. Or you could make up your own. But pick something. There's also culture. What are the lifestyle of your people? What are the traditions? Do they have any proverbs? How do they live? There's such a variety of cultures even within our world. Also think about history and background. How did your people get where they are? What made your country the way it is? You can go back as far in history as you want. Spiritual structure. Are your characters' faith systems and belief systems the same as those of Earth? Are they allegorical? Are they analogous to Earth? Or are they something totally different? I've seen Kingdom fiction that does all 3. And all 3 can work. Personally, I like to keep it the same as Earth, the way that God's kingdom is set up. But I make it my own, and I make it unique by choosing smaller portions of the system to make unique to the culture. For instance, the way they phrase things, different words, just small elements. that really make a big difference. Political structure. Many kingdom adventure books have kings, but yours could have a democracy or an emperor or a tribal system or a system where the children rule. It's all up to you. Social structure. How do your characters interact? How are their cities set up? Are there hierarchies? Geography. Maps are one common tool that authors use. Where are your mountains and rivers? Where are your major cities? How far are they apart? Level of technology is another thing to consider. Are your characters very advanced in their technology? Are they still in the Dark Ages? Are they somewhere in between? And it doesn't have to be consistent with the same time period as technology developed in Earth's history. That's the uniqueness of Kingdom Adventure. Language and terminology. Are there certain words they use or ways of phrasing things or terms they have for different items that are unique to their culture? Seasons and nature. In Truth from Tarna, I have short winters and summers and long springs and autumns, just to simplify my seasonal system. It's unique and it creates that unique world, but it's still very realistic. It's just not identical to what I have here in this particular part of the country where I live. And nature, plants and animals. You might have unique plants and animals that you have in your world, and that is another way you can make it unique. Characters' typical physical appearance. Are the people in your book a specific hair color? Do the people in that area have a specific eye color or skin color or body build or unique physical characteristics that set them apart in the world that they live in? If you are doing an entire world or an entire universe, perhaps you have developed many different cultures and races and physical characteristics, or maybe you have them all mingled together right in one spot. It's all up to you. Other small factors unique to your world. Are there different food dishes your characters like to eat, or different clothing styles that are popular in the part of your world that you're writing about? Are there holidays they celebrate? There is so much scope for your imagination here. But there's 2 guidelines to follow while you're creating this world. First, think realistic but unique. Think about different countries of the world. All of the different countries of the world are different in all of these areas I mentioned, and yet they're all realistic. So that is the same principle you can transfer when you're creating your own world. Maybe you want to combine elements from a variety of different countries at a variety of different times in history. Or maybe you want to make something up right off the top of your head. Both work. Just be realistic, but unique. And the second guideline is stick to what best advances your plot and communicates your message. You can throw in a lot of fun elements just for the fun of it, but ultimately everything should be advancing your plot and your message. Even if you do have something that's not significant to the plot or message, if you're going to show it in your book, it should tie in somehow, even if it's small. So, you've set up your story, your plot, your characters, and you've developed your world. Now, keeping track of the details. There are many ways to do this. You can use a spreadsheet, you can use a notebook, you can use a document on your computer, but I would encourage you to use something. Readers will notice. If you're developing your world as you go and throwing in whatever elements you think fit at the moment, you won't be consistent, and your readers are going to notice. Consistency is really key for a cohesive story. Personally, I like to use a spreadsheet. I have a tab for my major characters where I keep track of their names, their ages in the different books, their personality type, their hair color, their eye color, their height, their hair texture, their build, all of the details about who they are, just so I can keep it consistent throughout my entire series. I have a tab for minor characters, and this is a little different because what I need to know about them is a little bit different. I have which books they appear in, their relation to the main character. I have their location, where they live, who their family is, what their occupation is, and any other details that are important to the story that I might mention in passing and later on forget until I come to the next book where I need it again. I have a tab for setting, all the different places and locations I've come up with in my world. I have a tab for culture. I have a tab with other miscellaneous details. And my favorite tab is the timeline tab, where I have a timeline of one side has all the political events that are going on in the country. The other side has the events as they happen in the characters' lives. And that's just one tool I use to keep my world organized. So, those are the basics of plotting Kingdom Adventure. I hope that you found this helpful. I wish you the best as you plot your next Kingdom Adventure story, and may God bless you as you seek to write for His glory and His honor and the advancement of His kingdom.